Testing 1, 2, 3. Hey, I got a big mouth. That's even worse now. Good morning, everyone. We'll be starting the seminar just here shortly. The Cocoa 3D Case Project. Mike, if you need to say anything else.
This false you
Mike.
Time for the 10 o'clock presentation, everyone.
If it goes dark, you just touch the shutter button halfway.
Yeah, how many shots do you want?
As many as you care to take. I see a few people are under this way yet, so we'll wait just a minute here for them here. Okay, it looks like most of the people once over here is probably here, but okay, I got one more. I'll go ahead and introduce myself. I'm John Strong, Strongware. I'm an old-time Cocoa person. Was to several Rainbow Fest. Okay, first booth was at the first annual Cocoa Fest. I've had booths at the Atlanta Fest, the Penn Fest, okay, and of course the Cocoa Fest. And so we did Strongware with my brother, my older brother, and I develop games. I still do that, and also do 3D printing projects related to the color computer community. And so that's some of the quick background. And something I've seen, I liked in some magazines, game programming, was they did what was called a post-mortem. Well, this is not over, but I'm going to do something like explain why and how the project started and how some of the things are done, and some of the issues you run into, because like any R&D project, there's a lot of back and forth going and things happening, okay? And so that's it. Well, we get a few more showing up, so that's good, but thank you everybody for here. And one reason for doing this and coming to the show here is to get some feedback. Projects get very long, and sometimes you just run out of enthusiasm on the project. Okay, I know I got several game projects that I need to finish, and getting back to the enthusiasm to fit the time in real life to get them done. And I know people would like those projects to be done, and I would like them to be done, but sometimes, without some feedback to people, it's a lot of work, okay? It's a hobby, but there's a lot of work involved into it, especially the things that I do in the hobby. So the beginnings of this started actually a long time ago. I was doing some multi-pack designs, and they were getting too big to look like they would fit on the 3D printer that I had. And so I actually did the original design for Ed Snyder's different multi-packs, okay, the cases. And I did a prototype design for Jim Brain's multi-pack, which he hasn't released as far as production. But the multi-pack cases were very big, and they were actually had to put a extra glass bed that was larger than my actual bed size in to be able to print some of those. And doing that got me interested basically in getting a larger 3D printer. So I ordered one. And it failed on me. I had to send it back. So I ordered another one. And so while I was working on this, with a 300 millimeter size bed printer, and which was bigger than what he needed for the multi-pack, but it was like, okay, that's really the next size up. I'm going to invest in another printer. I want to have some extra range in it. And so, but having the bigger printer, like, oh, you know, I wish I could really afford it, even a bigger one. I could maybe do a cocoa case. And about that time, people started talking. And so talking about doing it in the cocoa community, Ed Snyder actually somewhere in that time frame, I think it was a little bit after I did that, was talking about maybe looking into having an injection molded case. But, you know, that's a major cost involvement. But, you know, I didn't know how much funds he had or access. But while I had that 300 millimeter, I did a CAD drawing, a quick one of the top of a cocoa case. And then I was able to scale it down 50% and slice it with Cura and actually accomplish a prototype, a proof of concept. As I said, a lot of the people, Ed was talking about injection molded case, and another guy was talking about making some aluminum ones and so on. And I thought, well, okay, you know, what I have won't do with the project. And secondly, the second one actually ended up acting like it was going to fail on me. The power supply got very, very noisy. And so while it was still in the warranty period that I returned it, I returned the second large 3D printer. And so basically through that project in the background, okay, other people were working on case for the Coco 3. You know, I don't have to invest money into it to do it. We'll let somebody else carry the ball, okay? It just needs to be done. Somebody else is doing it, all the more power to them, okay? You know, I had a little bit of doubts because of expense, especially injection molded, and if that would come, but if he could pull it off, you know, great, that'd be fantastic. Because, you know, I think the cases that John Liville et al., the group that's doing the molded game cartridge, are really a great contribution to the retro cocoa community. And while I do 3D cases and I print some of my own for that, I try to not compete with that because, you know, I want to encourage people to do those things. Well, I got laid off last year. So I had some time on hand. I had a little resin 3D printer, and I thought, well, you know, I've got to lay out partially of the case. It'd be neat if I had some miniature stuff, you know, maybe even shrink it down to high tack, different things like that. And I needed some test subjects to, you know, work out all the parameters of getting it to print properly. Understand hobbyists are not necessarily you buy this, throw a file out, turn it in, it's going to work like you think it should work, okay? And so while I was doing that, I get the itch of looking, okay, I just wonder how the printer prices come down, what's available. And so I do all this research while doing that and said, well, hey, you know, honey, you know, if I was working, you know, this printer would print a 3D printer case. And it's not too expensive. My wife said, buy it. I said, what? Buy it. You sure? Yes. I didn't argue. And so I greatly appreciate my wife's support in the hobby there. The fact that, you know, I paid for with printing 3D cases for 3 printers already helped her in her decision, okay? And so that restarted my Coco case project. So as I'm doing that, I have some people I talk to with ideas and bring back, and Alan Huffman is one of these guys. He's actually shared my first booth at the first original Cocoa Fest with me. We went to joint things with the Atlanta Cocoa Fest and other things. Okay, so we've been, kind of best buds. Okay, as far as doing things with the cocoa, and so. Alan is a very if you know him, very enthusiastic, extrovert type guy. Okay, sometimes I'm that way, maybe too much. Sometimes I'm introvert. I kind of go up different things. I find it very hard to promote myself a lot of times because I feel like I'm bragging, and I don't want to ever come off that I'm better than anybody else. Okay, so that's what started the project back going. So we invested in it, started doing some test stuff. And talking to Alan, said, hey, I got this we're talking about doing that. And said, oh, it would be great, if we had a Raspberry Pi, if you would do this, John. And he did that before I bought that. And I came back, well, Alan, wife said, buy it. I bought it. And so we're talking about it and started doing some CAD drawings and stuff with it. He says, well, we really need to be able to put the Raspberry Pi in it, like that, the 400 in the case. It was really cool, neat, an all-in-one. And we got talking about it, and he offered to donate a keyboard and a Pi 400 to me to make sure it would fit. And I thought, oh, well, I'm out of work. Okay, yeah, I'll accept your donation. Okay, because that would really help. And so I got talking to him. Well, Alan, do you have a price point you think we should hit? Because I was thinking about putting just a little tray that fit a full size one would fit or something. But there, well, $50. And so, man, we can't do that full size, $50. It's going to take too long a print. And with the standard nozzle, it's like, okay, days to print anything. So one of the first things I did, I went and bought a larger nozzle for it. So instead of the 0.4 millimeter nozzle that comes standard on the 3D printers, I went to 1 millimeter. Okay, just simply the print times were just going to be just so long, and also with the Anycubic, it has a textured print bed that you don't have to have any adhesive on it when you print, but you have to have that heated bed on, or it will stick to that bed if you print it cold, and you can't get it off. You'll destroy the bed. So you have to run it as a heated bed when you run it, and so those are those things you have to take account in when you're doing this. And so we started that work. Did a lot of different things, measured this and trying to get their angles right in the print, and just relearn a new printer. And so the stuff I've done so far has been with Simplify 3D and designed with FreeCAD. There's some other free stuff out there, but FreeCAD works most like a traditional CAD program. And I did have a couple classes in AutoCAD in college. They were just starting Windows, and didn't really do 3D stuff in it, but I had kind of, preliminary with the way the software works, so the learning curve make it a little bit less. And so this is a top design, and it actually takes 3 CAD drawings to do the top piece. And on the Raspberry Pi version 1, it takes 2. Okay, and so this is a full size one, the most recent one. This is the next print candidate, and for a full size case stop. And this is the top outline shell of it, and this is basically what it looks like. The extra lines there are things maybe for features that I'll add after I do some of the other things there, but they're there for reference in case I need them. Okay, and so what I'm going to need to do here now is make the other design visible, make the top false so you can see where it is. And then this is actually the more complicated one. This is where I do the vast majority of the work to do the interior of the case. All the posts and supports and things like that all comes here. The support ribs for the top, everything is all done here. And then you do a Boolean cutout to the top piece to do the two things together, okay? And that allows me to set the sizes. The third one is basically just there to get the slant on the underside of the top of the keyboard that matches on the case. These are slanted here, so I can't just make them shorter. To be able to slant, I have to do a solid object that I do a Boolean cutout on to try to get to match the case. So it's actually 3 CAD drawings, okay? One of them is pretty simple, but getting space is a little bit problem, just to do the CAD for the top piece of the thing. Now, there is other software that's probably a lot there, but this is probably one of the most capable, free, that's not online based. It has its share of bugs, trust me. I've worked around those and worked with them a lot. But it does accomplish the job eventually. So we're going to go ahead and make the top visible and do the Boolean join so you can see how it looks. Okay, and then we have that. It looks like it fills in, and okay, so okay, Boolean. We need to do to cut, add a body. Okay, okay. Even though I've got a fast laptop, I don't think it's using the software's using the GPU. Or if it is, the GPU on my screen is slower than the GPU that runs externally because it has a separate video that you can run out on it. Like they kind of do that kind of oddly. So now you still see the top, okay? But now if we go to the bottom, you can start seeing the ribs and stuff in there that's created. At that angle, it's not showing real good, but that's how we create the interior and fit for everything. Yeah, it looks like there's a mistake in there. I've got to clear it from the look of it, so I've got to check on something. Yeah, it's cutting the ribs here. I've got to maybe go look at that because I just redid this on Thursday. And so I haven't got it checked out real quick for the latest version. So I still need to make some changes on this before my next print candidate to do the print. Okay. Now, even with the large nozzle, print times are very long. Okay. The print time of the top of the case is at least 12 hours on the Raspberry Pi side. Okay. And so it is going 15 hours or longer on a top case piece, maybe longer than that when I have the final design. Okay, get everything that needs to be in there. So it's something that really takes a lot of time. And the other thing that's kind of a little different than me than some of the other guys that do the stuff in the market, I try to produce stuff that I can make available, to other people. Now, I've had people ask for my designs, and here's a very simple reason why I don't do it. One, I need to recover my costs. Two, there's a lot of tweaks that I know I have to do that it seems to be very specific to my printer setup. And because I tend to stretch what these 3D printers can do. They seem to be worst case scenarios for printing with the current crop of consumer 3D hobbyist printers. And I have to tweak them a lot. And so I'm not going to sell somebody an STL file and not work for them. I just won't do that. Okay. And so that's kind of the reason for doing that way. And so the big issue that you deal with is undersized stuff leaves a lot of spaghetti, hanging things. You got to have something to screw. You've got to make things bigger so that it doesn't break and delaminate on you. And so you have a lot of issues going on that if you do a little something like this, you don't see, okay? Or don't see there, you do, or a lot easier to solve. If you have delamination issues, your temperature ain't hot enough on something like here. Here, you can really have to have the temperature and stuff dialed in because you have a lot more bigger area, a lot more plastic being extruded, and the fact that the bigger print, you have a bigger differential in the temperature on your print. Okay, so one of the things I'm needing to do with my print to continue with it is actually build a heat surround around it. Okay, and I'm actually looking at maybe finding something that I can insulate the bottom of the print bed a little bit because it's just there, and so I can find something I can glue on there that makes that more efficient, so all the heat is not just going out there into the cool garage, especially with fall or winter time. Okay, and I'm trying to heat the whole garage with the 3D printer, okay, which is not a good idea. So definitely, I got to do that to make this a successful project. So there's things there, but I wanted to let people know the project, the process of the project, and how it's coming, some of the issues that's happened, some of the reasons why it has to be this cost. 3/4 of real plastic probably in here. Almost a reel of plastic for a top, but just the top alone. So that means if anything goes wrong with that print, okay, you have a power outage, a flicker or anything, you're out a reel of plastic. So it's not cheap to do these, okay, and to get them to their a top quality. I'll take questions in just a moment, okay. A top quality. It takes a lot of work to do this. Okay, question.
What material you're printing with?
Huh?
What material are you printing with?
Okay, I'm running 2 different materials on these, and I'll explain the reason why for that. I generally put it in PLA. Okay, I like printing in PLA because if I print PLA on my other printers, okay, they're enclosed and stuff, and I don't have to heat the bed. Okay, now a lot of times I'll preheat the bed so it sticks a little better at the start, but the bed doesn't heat, and if the bed doesn't heat up, it doesn't have to cool down before I can remove it. And so it's a technique I did when I was doing a lot of cases for the Cocoa SDC project. And so, I get orders of 10 of them to 20 of them from Ed Snyder. Okay, I'm going to have to try to produce those as fast as possible. So you didn't want to have to wait a half hour for it to cool down before you can move it from the print bed. Okay, and so I have glass bed and I use hairspray as the adhesive for it, and then makes a really nice smooth, okay, case surface. Now we see some other nice cases around here, but you don't see a lot of them that have the smooth surface like I have, okay, because they don't use that technique. Okay, the second material that I'm using for the full-size case, I'm using what's called PETG. PETG has to be printed on a heated print bed, and it has to be printed at a lot higher temperature. But the advantage of that is PLA is a lot more heat sensitive. I printed stuff and have it in the car and they warp, okay? The original cocoa is very warm. In fact, I did a lot of upgrades for people in the years and putting fans in them, okay? And some of the cocoa twos. And I didn't want to create a case that I knew that most likely would sag over time. Now, PETG might, but that's the next best material to go that has the option that it most likely won't. Okay, I can't guarantee it won't, but it will stand a lot better heat resistance, okay? And a little bit tougher plastic than PLA, okay? PLA is hard, but it will kind of shatter a little bit more than some of the others. So I've got 2 plastics to work with, and there's no profile for my printer for PETG that comes automatically, so I'm having to tune the profile and stuff as I'm printing with the PETG. So those are the issues involved with that. Michael, I'll get a moment, Mike, before I forget, wanted me to mention, one of the cool things here, this is actually a cartridge case that has a flip top for people wanting to do development or games where they want to change the EEPROM or something like that, or something you want to be able to change dumpers in. I do have one of those with me. And if I'm able to make a Cocoa Fest, which, I mean, yeah, I'm hoping to do, I'll probably have some more printed up there. But so that's it. So your question here.
With print times that long, if it was me, I would want to buy a UPS so there wasn't any, danger of a power glitch ruining my print.
Oh, I have a power surge on it, and there's a thing that I can set up in the software. It's supposed to let you restart after a unit. But the problem with the UPS on it, okay, it's a 300 watt power supply with that heated bed, okay? And a UPS might handle a glitch. It's not going to handle an outage very long with that, okay? At any reasonably priced UPS, okay? So to get anyone to even consider to give you much of a time with that is costing the $100 range. So you'd be costing quite a bit. One of my dream setups for it is I've been wanting to do some solar on my house and then do some solar and backup battery. And kind of would be is to get enough solar power and a converter to power some of the stuff that I do in the garage. That's why my wife can't say, "You're costing us too much electric." Okay, and it's been a big deal this summer because out of work, they instituted summer rates during a certain time of day, and it's like, to keep the wife happy, no printing on that heated print bed during those hours. So you got to keep the wife happy. She let me get the printer, so it's a compromise I'm very, very willing to do, okay? And I understand her concerns. So that's not a complaint. It's just a fact of life, okay? And, things you have to do because, hey, that's going to add up, and do that. So you have to factor that all in with the cost and everything involved. And if you do electronics, you got a lot of R&D and things that happen, I think I seen Mark looking at something that he had there showing somebody with some kind of little mistake in it. But anybody who's done any hardware development, you've done something, you work on it, you think you've got everything, and then you do a PC board and something's wrong. Or you do a code load in a field program or gate array, and you just miss something, or it just doesn't perform the way that the documentation said it would perform, or something like that. So any other questions? Now, the other thing we should do is this is actually designed for the case. This one's not a perfect fit yet, but it'll drop down case on top. The Raspberry Pi ones are designed to use either the Pi 400 or the official Pi keyboard. We went with that size because as long as they're making the Raspberry Pi, they're probably going to stick this form factor for quite a while. And it means we can specify a keyboard or something that will actually fit in. Remove the bottom case, the screws, put them on the supports, put it back together, and then we have one that fits right in. And you got back panel that's going to be available for it, or you can just run rigger long cables out the hole in the back. Okay? And so that's a choice available. I want to thank everybody here, your time and attention, your interest in the project. I am hoping that we have these pre-production ones. The price will go up after I'm out of those. So please, if you want one, you don't mind just a little bit of imperfection on it, please get one. Will help support the project further.
So you say you're using a resin printer?
I do have a small resin printer.
So you're printing these on a regular 3D printer?
No, these are not printed on a resin printer.
Okay, so would you consider ABS?
No, ABS smells too much.
I know.
Yeah.
But it's supposed to be extremely.
And it is very hard to print with.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay, it is very hard. The other good thing about PETG, it has a very good bridging properties.
Yeah.
Okay, which ABS does not have. Okay, and with the better bridging properties, that means that I can use a more sparse support. Okay, even at the sparse support on the cases, I'm probably using as much, if not more, plastic in the supports than you are in the actual case that remains after I remove the plastic. So that is a major consideration. Okay, if I had to use a real small support range and a part, or our high percentage of support, and then even a real plastic wouldn't even do the smaller one.
Are you using water-soluble support material, or are you just printing it?
No, I'm not. One, water soluble would be really cool, be easier to do that, but it's probably more expensive than the other plastic. And secondly, it takes a dual head printer, okay? Okay, now my smaller ones that I do these cases on and stuff that I've done now are dual head. Okay, finding a large 3D printer, okay, that is dual head is very hard to do, okay? They haven't gone to that with that in the consumer level stuff. If you buy industrial and spending $5,000 to $10,000, okay. You guys want to donate $10,000 for me to do it? Okay, I'll do it. But I'm not asking you to do that, okay? So,
I have a dual head printer.
yeah, I do have a dual head printer, and I thought about that on the supports before, but I've tried to keep it, simple enough. And the cost on that is the soluble plastic is more expensive than the other plastic in most cases, okay? And the fact is, you got to handle it. I've got a reel that I've kept sealed that I haven't played with, but production time, waiting for it to support and everything. When I was doing the quantities for the Cocoa SDC, just didn't make sense of it needing to spend that amount of time when I could have the supports popped out. Okay, well, I didn't have that much support. Yes. Somebody else, did I see somebody else with a question? Okay. Okay, I do have one more thing to show you. Cancel this. Oh, okay. Discard. And this is Simplify 3D, the slicer. And just to show you a little bit how I've used this to put this together. And while I was ready to make this the first big size print, which failed, too thin. Well, actually, I printed that first one. It's like, okay, I'm having problems with not seeing this. And I need to make sure the spacing for the keyboard and everything are like it should be. Oh, wait a minute, I can put more than one of these. And so I actually positioned these so I could see, let me see if we can get it so I could look inside and make sure those supports were matching up properly. Because FreeCAD has a tendency, even though you tried to draw it that, if you have an angle on it, it changes the origin on your thing. So it's sometimes very hard to make sure it matches properly. Yes, it's that distance from there, but it may have changed the origins for you. So when you go to 3D print, you're not sure you're going to match. And so you're ending up, oh, I printed this. Wait a minute. This is what it says here. It looks like it's right. Oh, I've got to change this. And so that was a way to do that. So I actually drew up a quick mock-up of a Cocoa keyboard without the keyboard just sizing. And so that's what you see here. And so we'll go ahead and remove that top piece we replaced there. And okay, if you can see that, and then I have it there angled, set in space to make sure my spacing's right. It's off a little bit, and I knew that it's off by about 1 millimeter in this direction. I need to bring it down a little bit here. Okay, I knew that after doing the print. It was there, just a tad off, and I think slicers kind of move the things a little bit on you. small fractions to fit to match the nozzle size. So I've actually had some details on that 1 millimeter nozzle that doesn't show up. The ridge I have down here, okay, in the CAD drawing, it is all round and it's only showing up on one or two sides in the slicer. So there's something, the slicer also introduces some issues to you that you have to go back and fix in the CAD and figure out what is going to make it through the whole system for you, okay? And it's just something that you have to deal with as a hobbyist, that if you had a big bucks to buy some of these top ends from Strata Systems and things like that, I'm sure they have fixed these issues in their slicers, because commercial companies are not going to put up with it, okay? But as a hobbyist, you've got to put up and deal with these issues happening.
It's in the commercial stuff too.
And I've talked a couple of years ago, I talked with Evan Wright, teaches for a technical college, or technical school in Chicago. It's high school students, but they have a technical thing they can go, and they have 3D printers. And I talked to one of the guys who were doing I think they had a Strata System printer or something that was there, but anyway, it was a commercial fused filament printer. And I was talking about their CAD. Oh, well, we run into those problems even with this.
It's not a,
Yeah.
You always have to adjust your model based on the equipment that you're using to make it.
Right. And so that's one of the big things. It's not only do you have to, this being the most complex model that I've ever done, okay, you not only have to figure out all the things there, then you have to build it for production. Okay, so that means what the plastic is going to do, how much it extrudes, modes, and so what the slicer does. And so, okay, it looks great in the slicer. Now I'm doing print. Oh, wait a minute. Now this printer is doing things differently than what my small printer does. So I've got to go tweak the settings on the slicer. Okay, I can't fix the slicer. Now I'm going to have to go back to the CAD drawing and have to work in there. So it is a round robin process that happens, and then it actually sometimes happens continually even as you get in production. I would, printing things and see maybe even changing your plastic, okay? Oh, well, I want to try a plastic. I can't get here, I'll mail order it instead of, pick it up at Micro Center, okay? And I've tried cheap plastic, I've tried expensive plastic, and, had the same issues with all of them, okay? And so I figure if I'm going to have to throw away X percentage, I'm going to throw away the cheaper plastic.
Well, it's not an exact science.
And so that's it. And you'll print two of them, same software, same thing going, and one will be perfect, the next one I have a flaw. Okay, it's just the beast of the thing. Okay, it's just it. You just live with the fact. And so you can go ahead and delete this last one so you can see the render on that a little bit. We didn't talk about the cutouts in the bottom is simply to speed up time for prototyping and save plastic while doing prototyping. Okay, that extra flat layer in there will probably add minimal 2 or 3 hours to the print time on that bottom case. Okay, by cutting that out, I save that time in prototyping in that plastic. Okay, and it also, the bonus benefit, it allows me when I get the top case on there to look in and very easy see how things are matching up and lining up properly, okay? Because I know that when I was starting out and doing the smaller cases, sometimes things wouldn't line up like I want with the notches for the snaps and stuff. I would end up and take my Dremel tool and cutting it out. And I was like, okay, why don't I just do that in the drawing when I print the first ones, save the plastic, save the hassle of cutting it out, okay? Because basically you end up with this kind of plastic, it melts on you, so you got to still really mess with it, okay? And it's a fact of what you have to do. It's not complaints, even though it's pointing bad parts out, but it's just things you just have to deal with as a process. Any ideas, any suggestions? And the idea is here, I would really love to have, a 600 millimeter printer. 600 millimeter, you could actually incorporate an MPI in the system. So you could have a single case for it. Other things that considered to do is actually print so it looks sort of like a Coco 4 prototype, put drive bays on top of it. But once you get to there, you get to start to open some other things that open possibilities. And also for like guys who are getting the Gimme X and then putting holes in the cases. And I go like, oh, okay, but it's your case. But you know, what if you want to take that out? Now it's no longer, original, and you've modified that case, and you might say, oh, yeah, I really want that original one. Now, maybe I took the Gimme X and I took it out of my original Coco, and I built a new Coco 3 because he goes by online by Rocky Hill. He's got a PC board design for Coco 3. He's built it and a Coco 2. So he's built up a Coco 3 functionally. He got a Gimme X system, put in one of his Coco, took the Gimme out, and using that, the chip, instead of going and setting away in somewhere else, not being used, he built him a Coco 3. And he contacted me recently. So I heard you doing this. And so, I'll be talking to him, and I'm pointing to this video online so he can get some more information on it. Okay. He doesn't do Facebook, or I have a little group that I share with some people on development to get some feedback. But I didn't want to you go full public with it, all these people demanding to do this or that. And I don't have time for it. Okay. It's not that they're not good ideas. It takes time. I got to complete my idea. And then if I've done something wrong, okay, then we'll speak up and we'll fix it. You just can't design by committee. It doesn't work very well. I have a few people I've talked to make sure I'm not missing things, to get some feedback. So I've gotten feedback, and do that, and some good feedback, there, and from Boise and different people. We appreciate that, and so you see a cool project, tell people it's cool. Even if it's something you'll never buy, and over there, you don't know why they did, but it's cool. It helps. And the more ideas and stuff you do, the better it is. Okay, because my project may not fit you, but what I may do may inspire somebody else to do something that just really does what you want. Okay, and really, really cool. It's just like the dry wire project the Boise's done. It's inspired so many things going on in the Coco community. So that is really there. And great thanks to the guys doing the Tandy assembly, the Coco Crew podcast, the talk, the floppy days, and the other podcast. I forget the name. I apologize. I'm the Coco person, so I'm pointing you out. I don't remember names, so I apologize. But doing great stuff, and these podcasts and stuff really have done a great help to the community. Before John and them started the Coco Crew, the Coco Fest, I introduced a new game. I sold one copy, and that was Neil. Okay, he was part of the Coco Crew Fest. Okay, I sold one copy. Okay, with everybody there. The people just walked by. They didn't buy. They were there, and it's like, okay, I've done this for how long? I kept doing this and promoting the Coco and everything, and it was like, is it time to get up? Okay, what do I do now? Do I try a quick starter to do what do? I was like, okay, what do I do here? Okay, I've spent all this time doing this. I sold one copy. I traded the copy out to somebody. We had the guy from the Commodore does the cartoon graphics. Okay, and there he had that. I traded a copy of a game for it, but I sold one copy. And so the work these guys have done on the podcast, okay, the Coco Talk and the Coco Crew, and it's been just tremendous for the community. People are finding him. I'm not seeing him today. He's from Canada. He's down promoting the Cocopedia and trying to make things people can find things easier. This is a great work for the Coco. I'm just going to take this moment to congratulate all of you, okay, the work that you've done now to promote the community. Thank you all.
What brand of printer are you using? Curiosity.
Huh?
The brand of your 3D printer.
Anycubic, Suron, yeah.
I'm sorry, that's a trade secret.
Thank you.
Thanks for talking.